G'day, it's Doug here from Mornings with Doug on Sunshine. Just have a great conversation with Natalie Nicholls from Plex Learning. Definitely worth having a dive into. Follow along and like, comment, subscribe, do all those good things, and I'll chat to you at the end. Tell us a story. Why do we need to understand this?
Okay, all right. I'm going to start with my story. So anyone out there who's got teenage girls, listen up. All right. So I'm going to tell you a story about the homework frustration. We've all been there to some degree, particularly when we've got teenage girls, right? So I had an incident on the weekend where one of my children said, "Oh, Mum, can you help with this? Can you read this for me?" And I'm thinking to myself, okay, happy to help her, but what is she actually needing from me right now? Because anyone out there's had a teenager knows that, do they want you just to read it and say it's great?
Yep.
Or do they want you just read it and don't say anything? Okay. Or do they want you to read it and give you your advice to be able to help, right? And sometimes when we're giving that advice that we think is what they would like or need, their brain needs to be in that learning state first. Okay. And so I wanted to be able to share this incident that happened. Anyone who knows about English right now, they use these paragraphs called these peel structures. Yeah, see, look. And this
I'm just shaking. The moment you said English, I was like, what language are we talking?
It's like we used to do a paragraph with a topic sentence, middle bit, and then the bottom, right? Okay, that was a paragraph. Yep. Now they have to follow P-E-E-L. Then when they get older, they got P-E-E-E-L. And then some of the places they're also doing P-E-E-A-L.
Oh.
And that's just a paragraph, right?
That's just a paragraph.
That's just a paragraph. So it gets quite complicated, right? And so anyway, so my daughter's writing this thing and she has 25 minutes to do this timed practice, okay? And so she's quite intense, trying to get this thing done. And then you could see that in that time she was escalating, right? Yeah. Because she had to this practice. She's escalating. She's sitting at the dining table. And then if anyone's like me out there, if they see their daughter escalating, they can escalate quite quickly, right? So I have to be really in tune with myself because my default network is to be fluctuated when I see someone else fluctuated, right? So it's always really good for us to be able to see that we have, let's put it simply, 3 states.
Yep.
Right? So when we are in what we call our social engagement learning state, that is our optimal state for us to be able to function, okay? Now, that kind of state is when we are calm, we're curious, we're flexible. It's what we call our prefrontal cortex thinking part of our brain is online. We can focus, we've got good emotional control, etc. And this is really where that learning state happens.
Okay.
Now, the next state is what we call our fight-flight state. I've talked about this before, where we're either going to get quite defensive, we may run away, we may fight, but we also may verbally fight back. So if you think about in that situation, my daughter being the teen, hormones, all sorts of things, mum's regulation, we're trying to be on the same page, she was going into what we call that fight state, right? So she didn't run off to her bedroom. She was kind of like getting defensive, okay? And the next state is then when we go into what we call our survival or a retreat state. So kids who may just shut down in those moments have gone into retreat. So if you think about those, we fluctuate through all of those all the time. So it's normal for us to fluctuate. If we get stuck in one, that's when it needs some extra support to be able to get out of those states, okay? But on a normal scale, we're fluctuating. So in that state, when my daughter was sitting there, she was in that learning state when she was doing her work initially, and I was in that engagement state thinking, oh, cool, we can, do this together. And all of a sudden, we both switched. Our nervous system read the situation and went into that fight-flight state.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? And so hers was, she's going to protect herself because we know everything.
I'm a teenager. I know everything.
I know. Someone else needs to help me, not my mother. Right? So then that kind of the defense mechanism comes up, right? Now, then all of a sudden my nervous system's reading it, so it goes to defense too.
Yeah.
Okay? Who is going to be in the best position to change right now? My daughter or me?
Neither of you. You both need a breather.
Yes, but whose prefrontal cortex?
Oh, yours would be.
Exactly. So I cannot be in that situation and blame my daughter.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where it's really handy to have a list of things, like just top 3 things that help someone regulate. A couple of ideas are having a nice cold drink of water, going to have a shower, going on a swing, going for a quick swim if you can, listening to music, anything that just really moves your state into a state of happiness, star jumps, anything that could just kind of kick you back into that social engagement state, right?
Okay.
Once we've done that, then we know we can come back together and then figure out the next point of that learning.
How do we apply that in everyday life? Are there things that sometimes we say or do that get us off track? Are there things that we can put in place that keep us moving in the right direction?
Yeah, really good. Okay, so it all starts with our own mindset first. And our own self-awareness, and remembering that, we're there to support and to help. And once we start to take on that ownership to go, actually, well, this is a really powerful role that I have, and this can be really helpful, as opposed to that's just who they are, that's just what they're like, they just need to try harder. That's a very closed book mind, and for anyone in that situation, there's going to be no progress, right? And the science and the research tells us that is not the best way to be looking at it, right? Whereas if we know there is stuff out there that can help us, then we're more likely to be making change and helping our kids, right? And so the first thing is that self-awareness. So, how can we make sure that we know what our signs are of escalation, our own triggers, and then know what our kids' triggers might be, or the escalation signs, so that you can then see quite quickly, because it goes quick, right? It happens quick. And once you start to see theirs or see your own, it's a matter of time. Eventually what happens is you actually start to learn within yourself what that means, and then it becomes more of an automatic process, right? And once we've done that, we can then start to ask questions like, what state am I in? What state are they in? Are they in a learning engagement state? Are they in fight-flight state? Are they in survival state? There's no point in me trying to help them in fight-flight or survival state, right? How can we help get my child into social engagement state so they're ready for learning, right? Underlying those factors, I also wanted to leave everybody with a couple of other things, is that our brains will always default to more of fight-flight or survival state if we're low in sleep, if we're low in nutrition and energy, right? If we haven't had a really good amount of movement. So the foundations and the physiology of who we are is our body's way of just protecting ourselves. And remembering that, there's only a certain capacity and limit. We can bring up that capacity through really good sleep, really great nutrition, looking after our bodies with exercise. That stuff really helps, in addition to mindset, helps us to be in that best state, and then to be able to support our kids in that state too. So just becoming aware of where we're at, and then checking the state of our children first to be able to support them is one of the best things you can do. Okay, that's great. When it comes to supporting our kids, are there phrases or things that we should stay away from? Yeah, look, if we're talking about making sure that I've got a talk a while back, I think it was towards the end of last year, there was one about positive specific praise. A lot of parents have said they found that really, really helpful. And it's all about just remembering that we are separating the child from the behaviour. Okay, so the actions that someone has versus the person. So instead of saying you are doing this, or you are lazy, or you are silly, or you are, we're saying the actions that are being presented. Because the behaviours can change, right? And we don't want to crush our kids. We don't want to crush their confidence, crush their self-esteem, because everything that they hear from us becomes their inner voice. So it's remembering that what we are giving them and feeding into them becomes who they are, and becomes the person that we really want them to be. So bringing them up as much as we can and filling their cups, really. Hey, it's Doug from Mornings on Sunshine. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, do all those good things. Share it with a friend who might get something out of it, and I'll catch you in the next video.